And so it's being recorded and will be shared with you afterwards. So today we have Myrna Lapres will be giving our presentation. Myrna is a relationship and parent coach and educator. She's the author of a wonderful book called 7 Gifts to Give Your Child, Parenting That Will Touch Their Future. Drawing on her experience as a parent, a coach, and a safe conversations facilitator, she'll be guiding us to think about the sacred space between, the point of connection. Okay. All right, Myrna, thank you so much. Take it away.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for being here. I'm going to share my screen now. And let me get rid of the floating things here. Sorry, hold on. Hide floating. All right. So, one of the things that I'm working on currently as a coach is combining some of the different tools and resources and programs that I've been trained in. So you're going to hear some things that are from Safe Conversations and from Unconditional Loving, and as well as other things. So I want to start with these first 4 slides were made by my good friend, Nancy Bulow. And I love them. I'm going to use them. We are born in relationship. We grow in relationship. We are wounded in relationship. And the good news is that we are healed in relationship. So the title of my talk today is The Sacred Space Between. And most of us think of the space between 2 people or a relationship as 2 people. And we forget sometimes about that space between, which is our relationship. And that's the point of connection. And from using Safe Conversations, there's a new definition of a relationship as 2 people and the space between. So the space between is like an energy field. It's invisible, but it flows between us. And it might seem like an empty space, looks like an empty space, right? But this relational space is filled with energy that determines the quality of our lives. And the important thing to know is that what we put into that space impacts our relationships and the quality of those relationships. We can make that space between us safe or dangerous. If it's safe, then we can connect and we thrive and feel fully alive. If it's generally safe, when there's a breakdown or a rupture, then we can find a way to correct it or heal it. But if the space between 2 people is dangerous, then we automatically feel afraid and we protect ourselves. We feel defensive. When there's harsh words or judgment, criticism, then that creates anxiety and fear in our relationship, in that space between. So no matter what kind of relationship we have, that we must learn to care for that space between. And so today I'm going to talk about how to do that. Just basically we have to learn how to practice curiosity instead of frustration. And we have to create wonder. Like, I wonder why the other person is like that. And we have to put kindness and appreciation and gratitude into that space between. And it's important to acknowledge, it's important to acknowledge that when we get curious, we can get to a place of empathy. And then the connection happens in the space between. But it's also important to know that our past impacts our present relationships. So experiences and wounding that we had from our past comes up. They can be called triggers, and the memories of past challenges can lead to assumptions on our part or the other person's part and misunderstanding. And when that happens, there's no curiosity and no empathy. And I think this is especially true for parents, no matter what age our children are, because we can get upset, hurt, triggered by something that our children say or do. And if we begin to kind of step away from the trigger and we look at it as an awakening, this is something that I need to pay attention to. It's uncovering something that's there, and it needs my attention and my care and my healing. And so I like to say that in this way, actually, parenting and grandparenting is an opportunity for us to reparent ourselves, for us to heal things that happened in our past, and to be able to begin to see things more clearly. It's been said that the greatest distance between two people is misunderstanding. When we have an argument or a fight, or maybe we just give the other person the silence treatment, or there's a rupture in our relationship, we feel far away from each other, and there's misunderstanding. So imagine that today I'm giving you a clear, refreshing glass of water to drink. But before you take a drink, I come and I put in just a small amount of contaminated sewage water. Would you take a drink of that glass? It's highly unlikely that anybody here would take a drink of the glass that's polluted. And when we allow criticisms and negativity and put downs to be part of our family culture, then this taints our relationships in the space between. And today we're going to talk about some steps about how we can, as I said, how we can heal and how we can cultivate safety and love in that space between. So the first thing is to cultivate or create a culture of zero negativity. Some steps that I have found are important is that first we have to remember that connection is essential to have a close feeling between another person. And when we put in negativity or criticisms, it breaks that connection. And also we have to accept that even though I don't think I'm being negative, if the other person's experience is that it is negative, then I have to accept it. So maybe in my family, when I was growing up, there was a lot of joking, but oftentimes it got crossed the line, and other people in my family didn't understand that hurt my opinion or my feeling about myself and my connection. It hurt the space between. So really, we need to make a decision as a family that we want to develop a culture of zero negativity, or at least reducing the negativity. And so in the absence of negativity, then we can cultivate energy, safety, connection, and joy. So the next step is, how are we going to do that? So have a family meeting. You can do this, whether or not, if your kids are living at home or not, but it's a little easier if they're living at home. You come up with a code word for the whole family that everybody can understand, something like bing or ouch or wow, that indicates that the person felt hurt, they felt something. And the person who's experienced that says the word, and then we have a redo process that can heal or reconnect after the rupture. So it might look something like maybe the people are really upset, they need to take a break and calm down. Or maybe the person who felt hurt can explain how that felt to them and ask the other person, can you re-say that without sarcasm or something like that? And then the most important thing is some kind of reconnecting behavior. Maybe it takes an apology or a hug or a kind note to help everyone get on track. And the last part is beginning to be curious about each other instead of being defensive. So it might look something like saying to myself, I wonder why he or she thinks that way or says that, and saying to the other person, I'm curious, can you explain that to me, or can you tell me more about that? Now you might think, okay, my family's never going to do this. That's okay. If you don't have buy-in from your family, you can model the kind of thing that you want other people to inherit. You can decide to begin to notice when you have negative thoughts, or say something sarcastically or complaining or criticizing, and you can replace those things in your own life. So it might start with catching yourself, and then you start doing something else instead. And one of the things that I like, this quote from Mother Teresa says, if you judge people, you have no time to love them. So if we really love others, then we want to find ways to bring in kindness. And this is the other quote I like. Kindness unlocks doors that were thought to be closed forever. So we never can know sometimes that planting the seeds of compassion and empathy and kindness, how far that can go in actually having a ripple effect and impacting our family culture and others around us. So another thing I would like to mention is that this space between is sacred. When we look to see each other from God's point of view, if we look to see God or the good in each other, then we create love, connection, kindness, hope, and joy. But this has to be intentional. And I would like to share a short video with you that I think emphasizes this really well. So bear with me while I get this video up here. Oop, hold on one second. Sorry about that. It's called, maybe you've seen it before. It's called Eating Twinkies with God.
There is no sound.
Okay, sorry. Let me try that again. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, let me try it again, but if you don't hear any sound, please let me know. Can you hear it now?
Now, where are you off to?
I'm going to find God.
Ah, I see. Well, dinner's at 6. Don't be late.
Thank you.
You're welcome. He was like, no. Here you go.
Thank you.
I love broccoli.
Oh.
gotta go.
Ah, so did you find him?
God is a woman, Mom. And she has the most beautiful smile I've ever seen.
Why are you in such a good mood?
I just ate Twinkies in the park with God. He's much younger than I expected.
So, I think that my takeaway from this is that we have to be intentional. So the boy saw God in the woman, and the woman saw God in the boy because they were looking for it. And many times in the space between, we forget to have that intention. We forget to look for God and the good in each other. So that's I think a good reminder, and I really love that video. It came up in my Facebook feed yesterday, and I thought, oh, I'm going to share that. So, oops. The next thing that I would like to have us do, and Roseanne Kennett and myself did a whole webinar, which I'll send out the link to in the follow-up newsletter and email. We did a whole webinar on EFT tapping and a Ho'oponopono prayer. But I'd like to just take an opportunity right now for us to do this simple step, which can really help us to change our perspective from one of feeling upset, angry, negative, to looking to find connection. So just find a way to sit comfortably. If you want, you can put both your hands on your heart. And we're going to start with a few breaths. And as you become more present to yourself, think about something that you would like to focus on, something that you need forgiveness in yourself or with another person, or something that you would like to heal, begin to heal. So just take a few deep breaths. And then just repeat after me. I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. So coming back to our webinar now, one of the things I really like about the Ho'oponopono prayer is that connection of myself as, my divinity, and connecting with another's divinity. And it's simple. We can do it anywhere. You can go into the bathroom in your home or someplace else, just to be able to allow us to calm down, to reconnect, and to set that intention of looking for the God and the goodness in myself and in another. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is expressing gratitude. Oftentimes we feel grateful for somebody, but we don't always express it to the other person. And it's really important to find ways of expressing things that we are grateful for, even just a simple sentence to our spouse, to our friends, to our children, to our coworkers. And so it starts from having that heart of looking for the good, the God in others, but then expressing it. And for many of us, we have the holidays coming up. We may have family gatherings. And sometimes, in my family anyway, that there's a tradition at Thanksgiving of expressing what we're thankful for. But shouldn't that be something that we're practicing all year long? Giving, showing our expressing our gratitude to people specifically, with the point of taking care of that space, that sacred space between us. And also sharing appreciations. Maybe they're similar, but giving thanks and showing appreciation is an art, and one that we have to practice every day. And it's a habit that when we develop and practice, then it becomes a part of us. It becomes integrated into our lives. So I have developed this acronym to help me remember these points. And I call it making a pact with myself. So the first P word is patience. Patience with ourselves and with another. And when we practice acceptance, forgiveness, understanding, non-judgment, and patience with ourselves and others, then automatically, naturally, we begin to integrate it into our lives. Just like the little boy, like he had the intention. So if I have the habit or the intention of giving and cultivating and receiving unconditional love, then of course that space between myself and another is going to be healthier. And sometimes we have to practice patience with ourselves as well, and with others when there's a mess up. And so one of the phrases that I learned in a Radical Wholeness webinar that I took is saying to myself, I know, and it's okay. Acknowledging that there's something that's bothering me, or I made a mistake, or I'm upset with another person, but just saying those words, I know, and it's okay. And as a parent, one thing that I feel like helps me is to say, this too shall pass. This is a stage or a moment. Practicing patience with our children. Sometimes we really have to just see that this is not the whole time. This is just a stage in life, and things will change. And so part of patience is giving ourselves time, making space in our life to grow and to change, and to have patience with our progress sometimes. So the A in pact is for awareness. So we need to begin to pay attention and notice when we self-judge and when we are critical of others. Often it's become such a habit that we don't really notice. Sometimes I used to have the habit of, when I used to teach kindergarten, and I had a particularly frustrating day, I would complain to my husband, but that didn't really help our space between. So sometimes I have to make time in order to become more aware. So maybe like some of those things that were in the poll, in the survey, You know, what works for you? Make time to breathe, to meditate, to walk in nature, and just to slow down. So saying sometimes to myself, I'm learning through my mistakes, or I'm growing through my mistakes. And also that I'm sorry when I got up to someone else. When I got upset, what I really meant to say was, you know, saying I'm sorry, acknowledging that there was pain and there was a break in our connection, and then saying, you know, the kind, doing a redo, the kinder, more loving words. And also part of becoming aware is realizing how the past impacts my present relationships, and recognizing that I can't control other people, but I can begin to control how I respond. And so that when we can't control what's happening around us, we can begin to cultivate and challenge ourselves to control how we respond to what's happening. That's really a superpower in a sense. Learning to be able to say, I have a choice here. And maybe that means I need to go back to some meditation or take a break. I can't talk about this right now. I need some space. Can we talk about it later? So the C is curiosity. So we can strive to change my frustration, anxiety, or strong feeling to curiosity, and ask myself, why is this bothering me? What is it that I'm upset or frustrated about? And get curious. I wonder why the other person is acting or saying something that way. And to the other person, saying, tell me more about that. And again, I had this experience where I recognized that I had a trigger around being acknowledged or recognized. And it happened as I became more aware of it and got curious about it. I saw that there was a pattern in my life, and that it happened with my husband and with my children and at work and in other settings as well. And I realized I was making it about me. I was taking something that was said personally, and, you know, in a lot of ways, that's being a victim. Like, things are happening to me. So I had to get curious about, what could I do instead? How could I change my reaction to it? And I think that it's not easy, but you can't do these things without being patient and cultivating awareness, and then getting curious instead of being frustrated and upset. And I like this quote: traveling through life with curiosity rather than judgment is how one finds the magic in each moment. If I'm upset all the time about what other people are doing to me or around me, whatever, I miss those magical moments where the connection can happen, because I'm filling up my space between me and them with something that isn't creating connection. And the last one, T, is just try. Try to understand what I can control, my action. Try to be open to trying things in a new way, and try to be okay with mistakes in myself and in others. Using words like when we might not agree with somebody, but we don't want to have an argument, you know, you can say, you may be right. Many years ago, I had a professor who said, you know, these are powerful words. Saying you may be right doesn't say I'm wrong, or it doesn't say they're right. It just says you may be right. I hadn't thought about it that way before. And also asking myself, what does God want me to learn from this? Trying to see, how can I heal a rift or a misunderstanding? And also learning how I can stand up for myself without animosity. Trying to say the words that so they can be heard and not trigger defensiveness. How I can do things safely. And this if I have this pact with myself, then I can work to try to understand and have more connection and empathy, remembering patience, awareness, curiosity, and being willing to try. So in just a few minutes, oh, I'm sorry, I have another quote by Dr. Joe Dispenza, because I feel like this connects to what I'm talking about, but also to our whole self-care isn't selfish. Heal yourself, your family, and the world. And he says, when you intentionally make the expression of love a part of your daily practice, that is feeling, receiving, and giving love, not only do you boost your immune system, but you begin to understand that the more you feel love, the more you become love. And when you become the embodiment of love, you can change the world. So we change the world by changing ourselves and our relationships with others, especially those in our family. So we're going to have a breakout session now. And these are the suggested topics. How can you take care of the space between yourself and someone you care about? And what areas that I talked about today are you inspired to focus on? So the first one was creating a culture of zero negativity, seeing the God or good in others, expressing gratitude and appreciation, and the having a pact with yourself, patience, awareness, curiosity, and trying. So I'm going to put these in the chat so you'll be able to access them when we go into the breakout. I have to just check in the breakout room right now. Here, let's see. So you will have 2 or 3 people in your breakout room. So you will have 12 minutes. And hold on, I said I was going to share that in the chat. 1 second. Okay, so now you should see it in the chat, which you should be able to access in the breakout rooms. And are there any questions before we open the rooms? No? Okay. All right, so again, you have 12 minutes and I'll send a message when you have a couple minutes left. So just, if you have 2 or 3 people, just divide up the time that you have. Okay, here we go. See you in a bit.
This meeting is being recorded.
Just wait a minute. Everyone should be back in 10 seconds or so.
Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. I hope you all had a wonderful discussion, enjoyed the different ways that people were inspired today by the message. And we're going to have question and answer now. So we have the chat that if people would like, you can put the question in the chat, or you can unmute and ask a question for Myrna. Anything about her presentation today that you'd like to ask her about, we have time for that now.
No questions.
Ask a question.
For negativity, does it mean we shouldn't criticize each other at all?
Can you say that the whole sentence again?
to have zero negativity, does it actually mean that we shouldn't criticize each other or shouldn't place our complaint in a relationship, you know?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, criticism and complaint is looking at what's wrong. And gratitude and appreciation is looking for what we appreciate and what's right. Now, if somebody asks my opinion about something, then I can share it with love. I can share it, but you know, even negativity can be how I say something as much as what I say. So my tone, my posture, my my mean face communicates something to others as much as the words that I say as well. So in general, I would say, yeah, criticism and complaint isn't helpful. So, saying something in a different way, like if I can say I really struggle with this idea of whatever, or the way that you talk to me, it's difficult for me. Do you think we could talk about that? Or could we have a conversation about it? That's different than saying you always or you never. It opens it up and it puts something in the space between that I'm curious about it, or I want to learn, I want to know more. So I think there are ways to ask questions. It's not saying that we just have to accept anything, but it's the difference between using an I message and a you always definitely is a start. And then another thing I didn't talk about today, but Safe Conversation says we should always ask for an appointment. If we want to talk about something, asking the other person, is now a good time? And this was a hard thing for me to learn, especially when my husband worked at home. Even before COVID, I would sometimes go in and just start talking to him without asking, is it okay to talk about this? And then the other person can say, okay, now's a good time, or now's not a good time. And then I could say, could we talk about this later? It's really important to me. So does that answer your question, Roswitha? Okay.
Great, good. And also, yeah, I would add to that if you have a criticism, it usually means that there is an unmet need underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's really all of your feelings and emotions are 90%, Safe Conversation says 90% of your feeling actually has to do with your past. And only 10% of it is about what's happening in front of you. Mm-hmm. And so the beautiful process is to go, oh, why am I angry? What is that about? Mm-hmm. When do I remember feeling that way? How does that relate to my story or my life and my pattern and my childhood? And going back into, oh, it reminds me of when my dad was always late for dinner or not around. And so that's why I'm mad at my spouse for being late. It's not really him being late. It's all of my past hurt that I had as a child, and it's coming up now. And that's why I feel it so strongly. And so then it takes the burden really off of the other person. It takes the blame away from them. And it allows, as we share vulnerably to that person, hey, this actually really hurts me when you're late, because when I was young, my dad wasn't around, and it brings up that wound for me and it hurts. Then can you see the other person having so much more compassion and understanding and being like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll try hard not to be late anymore because I see how much it hurts you. And then they don't feel like it's they're bad and they're not being attacked. It's like this beautiful moment of connection, and it actually deepens the relationship, and you get to know each other so much better. So you start with that criticism, but then instead of speaking it, you look inside yourself and see, where does it come from? How is that about me?
Yeah.
And that work is just beautiful to bring to the table.
Right. And I didn't mention it, but, you know, part of this becoming more, being patient with myself, becoming more aware, being curious, means that I may need to do a lot of work in order to get to that place where, like Kendra said, to explain it to the other person. So perhaps I need, you know, a wise person or a coach or a therapist that can help me sort out all that stuff from the past so that I can be able to respond more authentically and lovingly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, we have 2 questions here. Danielle says, Myrna, can we obtain the slides with the info in order to share?
Yeah. I'm not sure about sharing the slides. I have to think about that, but we definitely will share the recording because this is part of my own personal work, my own coaching work. So it's my stuff, you know, but we'll definitely share the recording. And, you know, some people have used the recordings, which we'll send you the link to, as a way to have a meeting with other people and, you know, watching some of it and stopping and discussing. So that's definitely an option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. And so then Rosalind says, what's the greatest distance between 2 people?
Well, I showed that slide that said that misunderstanding creates, you know, the greatest difference between 2 people. Of course, there's other things too. When we are stuck, when we aren't able to recognize why I feel like this, but we create, when there's a blockage or a breakdown in communication, maybe you can be sitting next to the person, but you feel far away from each other. So I think that was just an example. I don't know. Kendra, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've talked to lots of people who feel so alone, even though they're surrounded by people. And I think that not being understood, not being seen, having nobody in your life that really gets you, that you feel felt, that you have, that you can see that person and they know you, they feel you, they understand you. If you don't have that, it feels really lonely, even if there's people all around. So it's that kind of being known, and the misunderstanding is kind of the reason why a lot of times we're not known, because people don't understand us and they don't take the time to understand, or they're not able because they're too wounded and protecting their own selves that they can't lean in and be curious. And so we feel that huge distance, even if we're physically around people. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. I have another question someone sent directly to me. What if the pain between 2 people is so deep that you aren't curious anymore for the other person? So, you know, it is true that in a relationship between a spouse, a parent and adult child, and us and our children, that the wounding can be so deep that it's hard to see a way forward. So I think it starts with an awareness that I don't want to be here. I want to find a way forward. And whatever that means, maybe it means that I find help for myself. I find someone who can be able to help me unravel, like Kendra was saying, look at why is this current relationship so painful, looking at the past. And then maybe it means if the other person is willing, that you have to sit down and work with a facilitator, someone that can keep that space safe so that there isn't more wounding. It's tough. I mean, it's tough, but I think that it comes from the desire to not live my life like this anymore. That's the first intention. And then and then seeking. And I'm not sure that there's any one answer. I think that there are many things that help us work on actualizing that awareness. Like what, maybe for me, I need to find other people that are safe for me to share with and to grow with and to recognize and to feel unconditional love from. Real Love talks about those people as being wise men and women, but those, and I believe that the safe conversations, the dialogues, which I didn't go into at all today, but that creates safety in exploring those wounds and challenges. Do you want to add anything to that, Kendra?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's one of the biggest needs people have is where they feel stuck. When it's too much, if they can't anymore, there's no way out, there's no movement. So I really like what you said, Myrna, that to find movement in a direction is what's going to start that healing process. And I think it starts with accepting the wound is not our fault often, especially because our wounding comes from our childhood and we didn't choose our family. We didn't choose our experience. We were wounded and it's not our fault. And often even in spousal and relationships, we get wounded and it's not our fault, but our healing is our responsibility. So nobody's going to come along and save us or heal us or do. It's really our responsibility to heal. And if we're not healing in our relationship with our partner, then find that outlet, find a way to heal. Where can you find that healing? What path can you take? What is there, right? Coaching or therapy or support groups or wise men and women. There is lots of options and people out there to find that healing, to find someone who can see you and give you that unconditional love, that you can start to heal your own heart and stop needing it from the person who can't give it to you. That's the stuckness, is trying to get something from someone who's unwilling or incapable of giving it to you. But that doesn't mean you can't heal. You have to just find a different avenue for that process. And a lot of times, if we begin to heal, we inspire our partner. That we stop telling them to get better or do something different. We start to focus on ourselves and give and self-care and how can we feel loved and happy and full. And then our spouse starts to go, wait, who are you? What's going on? What are you doing? Why are you so happy? What you're transforming, and you spark something in them to where they become different or want to heal and join you in that. So I would say that's kind of the path that I've taken. I was trying the same thing over and over again for so many years, and it wasn't producing a different result. So I was kind of going insane, right? That's Einstein quote. And so trying something different was focusing on my own healing that was separate from my partner, was how I began that journey.
Yeah. I also love this quote by Carl Rogers, who says that we can't change something that we aren't aware of. So we have to first start with self-awareness and recognizing, getting help to help us understand and begin to explore, be curious, instead of being angry all the time. Why am I angry? Like Kendra said. Yeah. So we probably have time for one more question. Is there anyone else who has a question or comment? Or not, we can end early. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. And I'm going to turn it back over to Kendra here.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. We won't have a webinar in December. It's Christmas time and all the holiday things. So we're just going to take a break for December, and we're going to have Roseanne announce our January webinar.
Thanks, Kendra. So we're going to switch gears a little bit in January, and we're going to introduce a program called Energize Your Dreams. Sometimes our dreams can get fuzzy or lost, maybe squashed. Who knows? Maybe you had a dream of finishing school, but then started having babies and there was no time. Whatever your dream is, this is a program just to help you get more in touch with it and get more clear about it. And we'll focus on taking positive actions towards the dream, even if it's just baby steps. It's kind of like snowball effect. And it just starts to feel more like life is an adventure rather than, just focusing on tasks most days. We have fulfilling experiences. It's a lot about co-creating. So I already feel like in this group, we're getting to know each other and support each other and share insights with each other, which is really exciting. So this coaching program really focuses on co-creating with others. So, and we're also going to kind of expand body awareness and emotional awareness, which increases intuition and inner knowing and self-trust. So lots coming up in January, and I would really like to encourage you all to just start thinking about what is that dream, or maybe you've already achieved your dream and you're ready to start a new one. But yeah, we'll meet in January, and looking forward to seeing you all. Have great holidays.
All right. Thank you, Roseanne. That sounds fabulous. Energizing your dreams. That sounds like something that we would all definitely gain from being more inspired and living that more magic in the moment. So thank you. I'm looking forward to that. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. It was lovely to have you all. We'll see you again soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.